Thank you, Emily, for the kind introduction. So, let's time travel back to 2015. The 10th of November, to be precise, which was the day I started at Frontier Developments as a localization manager. It was a really exciting time to join the company because we were in the process of transitioning from a work-for-hire game developer to self-publishing, which meant that we had to build up all the publishing functions that were previously handled by our various publishing partners, and this included localization. So I had the privilege to shape and guide the creation of this new department, and I'm really excited to share this journey with you today. So, what did I find at Frontier? Back then, Elite Dangerous was a game of around 300,000 words spread across 50 or so multilingual version-controlled spreadsheets. The translation status was tracked by manually color-coding the cells, and a blank memoQ server, all waiting to be set up. So I did the logical thing. I grabbed the game files from the build to a local drive. From there, it was picked up by the content connector into memoQ, a holding project where the translation magic happened, and then the files made the same journey back into the build, and the whole process was repeated with the updated and new content. So easy peasy, right? Yeah. But I had no idea what was actually ready to translate. And I found myself in a situation where I retranslated the same file of 80,000 words again, and again, and again. And I was wasting time and money to a point where the translations didn't even make it into the build on time for release, and it had to be added to the post-release patch. And that's not a situation any localization manager would want to be in. And even if I had this readiness information, there was no way really to communicate this, neither in the source files nor in memoQ at scale. And communicating context notes was very cumbersome in this format, so I barely received anything from the developers, if at all. And neither the spreadsheets nor memoQ, amazing as it is, can track the status of audio files. So I'm wondering if we could have this database thing that could sit between the game build and memoQ. It could reside in the resource manager of Cobra, which is our proprietary game engine, and manage this information there for me. But what would this look like? And who could possibly build this for me and my team? Hi, James.
Hi. So this is a great idea. So here's what we came up with. We have a central back-end system, which we've called Lock Server. It processes localization content committed in source control and stores it in our new database. I've also fully integrated it with memoQ using either Content Connector or the memoQ API. Using the new localization database resource plugin, users can now search and track source and translation lines and export those directly to memoQ. We've added user-defined metadata to further enhance tracking of lines, and they can also save their searches for later use. There's some administrative functionality in there as well, so things like game languages and characters can be configured.
That's really cool. So how do we support audio? You see, for this next game update, I expect to record and handle some 200,000 voice files across 5 languages.
Okay, so now we're going to extend this existing functionality to support audio, including comprehensive search, imports and exports, auto-generation of text-to-speech if the audio assets aren't available yet, and the users can even listen to the audio files in any of the supported languages. How's that?
I love it. And what do we do with the game writers and UI designers, game designers who are actually writing the text? You see, we've switched from the multilingual spreadsheets to simple, monolingual, straightforward XML files. Surely there must be a better way than editing them in Notepad.
Okay, so we've created another resource plugin, a bespoke editor for localization XML files that's fully integrated with version control. It includes XML validation, spell checking, and plural forms validation, and supports both text and audio lines.
This is great so far, And you know, the localization team is already growing very fond of these tools. However, our next game, Formula One Manager, is going to be developed in Unreal Engine rather than a usual proprietary Cobra game engine. Is there a way that we could use these powerful tools there?
So Unreal's a bit of a problem. It uses a completely different localization pipeline than we use. And this is triggered by a Team City script. So what we've done, we've added our own custom localization provider into that pipeline. And now we can upload source lines from Unreal, as well as download source and translated lines back. For this, we needed to add support for the portable object file format rather than XML. And we've integrated with version control as well.
Right, this is getting pretty awesome and pretty complex. I think the server's down.
I never thought this thing would actually fail at any point. I wasn't prepared for that. So, okay, it's up and running again. We're back on track.
Many thanks for fixing it so quickly. But what are we going to do if you're away, let's say, off to Budapest for a few days?
Okay, you're right. It's pretty clear we need some sort of interface that's going to allow us to investigate, respond, and resolve issues in a more proactive and efficient manner. And one that adds some configuration management in there at the same time. So tomorrow, what I've done is I've created this dashboard. It's a web user interface, so there's no deployment needed. I've added notifications for when anything goes wrong. You can visually see operations processing in real time and other operations in the queue. We can view and download the logs directly from here. I've added management functionality for the memoQ API, and also configuration data held in the database. I can start and stop project stages at the click of a button, as well as add and remove projects. And we can also manage memoQ exports for each of the projects.
That's pretty neat. What about game text that does not come from the game engine? So I'm thinking the achievements and trophies for various game consoles. And these come to us in formats that are normally quite tricky to handle in memoQ and time-consuming, especially if there are multiple iterations. I don't know, multilingual JSON, anyone?
Okay, so I've added support for PlayStation 5, Xbox, and Epic. That's JSON, XML, and CSV. If only these platforms would standardize, it would make life a lot easier, but we'll deal with it as we go along. So now you can port these achievements and trophies into locserver, use memoQ to translate them, and export them back out for the game teams.
Nice. This will be such a time saver. James, here is a fun idea for you. We use this constructed language in Planet Coaster and Planet Zoo. It's called Planko. And we already have a way to export the Planko term base from memoQ into a JSON file and keep the dictionary that we have on the public game website up to date. Can we maybe do an online translation interface for this?
No problem. Okay, we can get memoQ to translate on the fly using the memoQ API. Is this what you're after?
Perfect. Now our concept artists have an easy way to get Planko text and enrich the game world with Planko signs and such. And our community managers can also use this as a fun element in our messaging. So we are now able to create, author, translate, and record audio lines in the same place. But what about localization QA? Is there anything you could do for them?
Okay, this is more of a problem. They're external users, and we've got this horrible thing called a firewall in the way. So we need to find some sort of solution that's going to work. So here we go. The Frontier Lock team create an audio QA export to memoQ using our existing plugin. In addition to exporting the translated lines to memoQ, locserver now copies the audio assets to Amazon Web Services. We'll set up memoQ to automatically assign the export project to the QA user. They can then log into a new external system I've created called Log Portal and access their audio assignment using the QA audio plugin. The scripts can then be reviewed against the recorded lines. Best of all, we don't have to transfer any audio assets directly to the vendors, and the changes are immediately reflected in memoQ.
I am sure they will love that. You know what else they're paying? Queries. translators often have to manually copy a lot of information into spreadsheets, such as date, project name, file name, line ID, language pair, source text, target text, the actual question, etc. This file is then routed all the way to the supply chain until it finds an answer, and then goes all the way back to the translators across all languages. And then nobody ever looks at them again. This is such a wasteful activity, and I'm pretty sure there's a smarter way we could do that.
Right. Okay, let's have a think. Okay, we'll create a new log portal plugin for translation issue management. We'll need a way of sending and receiving information, avoiding our firewall. So we already use Amazon Web Services, so let's use their message queue. We'll need a new process to handle messages internally. It said that. And we can utilize Jira to track these issues. So now, with all this in place, we can now handle messages back and forth between our external users and Jira and allow them to track the progress of their issues.
Welcome to the team, Tim. So, using Jira is a great idea because it already has a lot of the functionality on the back end that we would need, such as user permissions, assigning tasks to users, tracking statuses, messages, etc. And also, the developers receive these questions on the same interface where they handle the rest of their tasks. So let's recap what we built so far. Wow, look at all this glorious mess we've done.
I'd rather refer to it as organized chaos. So does this fulfill the vision you had in mind?
Quite. I love that the ecosystem acts as a single source of truth for writing, localization, audio, and RQA. And this is now being extended to external partners, such as translators and testers. It gives us control over text and script readiness to reduce churn and rework. And already on the first game that we used it on, the cost savings justified having a full-time programmer on these tools. And it's great that we can work on the same interface, regardless of the game engine, the nature of the content, or wherever it comes from, such as the platform achievements. Is there anything else I'm missing here?
Yeah, we've got the option to roll back lines to a previous state if required, which is immensely helpful for troubleshooting. And we have historical tracking of source, translation, and audio lines, which we could expand on for the future.
That gives me an idea. So since we already have historical data and some basic reporting functionality on how many strings are in different statuses, such as placeholder, ready to translate, up to date, recorded, etc., we could definitely track and report on more operational data, such as how many times strings were reworked, or the number and nature of queries. These are things we could measure and keep on improving over time.
Yeah, more extensive reporting is something that we've had on our radar for a while, so that we can highlight potential cost savings, bottlenecks, and improvements to our existing workflows.
Yeah, the other thing is, we have already been able to remove the need to transfer tens of thousands of audio lines from us to the localization testers. Is there anything we could do with the external recording studios, how they transfer files to us? You see, localized voiceover is one of the last things that happen in a game, and at that point we need to do everything we can in order to avoid any delays, because every hour counts. What do you think?
So with regards to audio delivery, we already have a plan in place for this. We're going to create another plugin for the log portal, integrated once again with memoQ, that will fulfill this exact requirement and allow external users to upload audio directly.
And let's definitely keep an eye on emerging technologies and all the industry discussions that are happening, like here at memoQ Fest, to shape the future of these tools. And let's catch up next year.